Good day, madam. My name is Dipurit Sharkar, roll number 3, 7th semester, and today our discussion topic is prospectus. So, what is a prospectus? Prospectus is basically a document. It issued by only public company, not a private company. So, what public company does? Sometimes they need some fund because of their financial crisis or something like that. So what they do, they uh, issue some shares. So when the fundraising is done from the public by issuing some share, then the public is also getting some documents or something like that to know about the company, about the public company. So the documents relating to the fundraising of the company, including the detail about the company, is called a prospectus. We have to understand this thing that prospectus is invitation to an offer. If I talk according to the contract law, so it's a invitation to an offer. It is basically defined in section 2 subsection 70, where prospectus is defined. And prospectus is basically any document which described or issued as a prospectus. In section 2, subsection 69, we know about the promoters, which is a vital part of issuing the prospectus, and 71 describe about the public company. The public company only can issue the prospectus. Section 23 describe about the method of issuing it, and 24 describe about the power of the savings. So there is a very leading case here named Promutha Nath Sanyal versus Kali Kumar Dutt, which says that when some company give an advertisement, basically what happened, some company give an advertisement on the paper that there is our shares are there, you can apply for the shares. So is that advertisement called a prospectus or not? This is the question, and court decided it positively that that advertisement on the newspaper is also a prospectus. So what are the essentials of our prospectus? The document should be invite or subscribe to a public share or debenture, or it should invite deposit. As you say that these documents is an invitation of an offer, that is buying for shares or debentures or something like that, for raising the money from the public. Such an invitation should be made to the public, as you said, and invitation should be made by the company or on behalf of company. What happened? We will learn after some time in the prospectus that someone who on the behalf of the company, that they any share issuing company, that they can also issue the prospectus, and that's called also the prospectus. Then the invitation should relate to shares, debentures, or such other instruments, as we all know. The next thing is statement in lieu of prospectus. What is statement in lieu of prospectus? That is also contain the various description about the company, but what happened in statement in lieu prospectus is not as much described as prospectus, because it's the shares are not basically given to the public, but some private company or some private owned person. That's why the company doesn't describe their position or describe everything in the statement in lieu of prospectus. It's not for the public, but for some private company or the private players in small cases. So there are four types of prospectus. One is red herring prospectus, one is self prospectus, one is abridged prospectus, one is team prospectus. So there are basically these four type of prospectus, and we will know about the prospectus in our next slide. Like, what is self prospectus? Self self prospectus, as the name suggests, it have a self life, like it have a validity of 1 year. So every company cannot issue the self prospectus, and only financial institution or something like bank, they are uh, specifically have the power to issue the self prospectus. It have a shelf life of 1 year. Okay, so what happened? This financial institution raise money several times in a year, and every time what happened? Every time they have to go to SEBI and take your permission, and there are hundreds of documents of work. So this prospectus is introduced in section 31 of our the company act, to empower them to get a issue a prospectus, and the power of the prospectus should be uh, extend to 1 year. After 1 year they have to issue a new prospectus. So anything that will include for the second time or third time when they raise the money, then what happened? They issue a information memorandum to tell their growth of the company or losses in the company with the prospectus. So next prospectus is red herring prospectus. This is a very interesting prospectus. Red herring, this name come from a fish. So when the fish fried, that become red, and the name became red herring prospectus from that, inspired from that. So what happened in that in this perspective is basically don't it's a it don't say us about the quantity of the shares that will issued or the price of every shares, but it tell us about everything about the company and about the everything financial situations of the company, their profits and loss, everything. This prospectus is basically made for book building method, and section 32 of Indian Company Act 2013 mentioned about red herring prospectus. So these are basically to attract the public for buying the shares. Next is abridged prospectus. This is basically mentioned in section 2, subsection 1, as well as mentioned in section 33. So abridged prospectus is a summary of prospectus. It's basically a summary of the company details with financial year, which is less than 300 pages. Like prospectus is a long document. This is about 5 pages or 6 pages. It's attached with the application form, so that people who cannot read the 300 pages application, 300% document for every shares they buy and all, so they can read about the company in a small or brief content, which is uh, attached with their application form, which called abridged prospectus. It is deemed prospectus. Here we come the deemed prospectus, which I mentioned before. It is section 25 and subsection 1 mentioned there about the deemed prospection of our company law 2013. So what happened when suppose I have a company which I don't want any SEBI guidelines or something like that. So what I did, I uh, go to a share issuing company. So when I go to a share issuing company, they issue a prospectus and they sell the share to the market. After they sell the share to the market, they collect the money from the public and give it to the company owner. There is basically two things that should be mentioned. That after I give the share issuing company the The right to issue my share, the period between my offer and their issuing share should be in 6 months, and company will not get any money uh, before the shares are in the market brought by the public. So deemed prospectus is when any company to offer the securities for sale to public allotted or agrees to allot securities to the document will be considered as a deemed prospectus through which the offer is made to public for sale. Basically, the deemed prospectus, when the deemed prospectus is issued by the share issuing company, not the base company, which is not the base company which own the shares. So there, the section 26 will apply on the on the company, the main company which share is on the public for the sale, and this is deemed prospectus. And there are basically two difference. There are basically two prospectus. One is prospector, one is statement in lieu of prospectus, which is mentioned earlier, and there are some differences between them. Let us see the differences. There is a meaning. The base for comparison is meaning. When the prospectus refers to a legal document published by the company to invite general public for subscription of shares and debentures. Means it's offered to the public, not to other. But in the case of statement in lieu of prospectus, the document issued by the company where it does not offer its securities to public subscription. It's not offered to public subscription. It's offered to some friendly company or someone known to them or something like that. So that's basically statement. In lieu means instead of prospectus. Statement instead of prospectus. That means that's a crux of this thing. What is the objective of that? Objective is to encourage public subscription, and statement in lieu prospectus is to be filed with the registrar, used when capital is raised from general public. When the company have to raise capital from general public, they issue the prospectus. But when statement in lieu prospectus is due, capital is raised from known source, as we mentioned earlier. It contains details prescribed by the Indian companies act. Companies have said that this detail should be mentioned in a prospectus, so they do their work accordingly. Or statement in lieu of prospectus is it contains information similar to prospectus but in brief. So minimum subscription is required to be stated. It's required to be stated in the prospectus that what is the minimum subscription of this share, but it is not required to mention uh, the in the case of statement in lieu of prospectus. Sometimes people what do they confuse statement in lieu of prospectus as a uh, as a summary of prospectus. Basically, it's not a summary of prospectus. It's basically different, and it's basically a statement which is in brief of the including the details, and it's basically issued to the uh, to raise the capital from known source. Thank you, ma'am. That's all from me, and good day.